any hurry. Now, itong importante ito kasi parang hindi tayo nagkaintindihan dito ng mga oposisyon. The major issues in the purchase of face masks made by the procurement service of the Department of Budget Management. Were the purchases of mask overpriced? Yun ang tanong. Ang sagot is no, they are not. PSDBM procured the surgical masks below the DOTH DTI suggested retail prices during that time. Mas mababa sa suggested prices ng DOH pati DTI. And where there was a high demand for the same, it is not accurate to compare the purchase price of surgical masks at the height of COVID-19 and during the period when the supply of surgical masks began to stabilize. If you compare the prices of the masks and the PPEs, personal protection equipment, ikumparar mo yan ngayon, noon, tapos sabihin mo isang presyo lang gusto mo, at the height of the pandemic when it began, we had nothing. Wala tayo. Kaya we had to look for the gadgets, the PPEs and the mask wherever we can. And there was no supply kasi bigla ang putok ng pandemic. That is why every country then was also in a hurry, in quandary as a matter of fact, where to get the PPEs and the face masks. So ang presyo na yon mataas. Kasi kung kukunti lang kasi ang supply because manufacturers were just producing it at the time, mahal talaga. Kasi walang supply. So, agawan. So, balik tayo doon sa economic principle of, law of supply and demand. Pag maraming supply, mura. Pag walang supply, mahal kasi agawan. That is the same principle that applies in all commercial transactions, especially in the purchase of the surgical masks and the PPEs. Ito, kung pag-usapan natin ang purchase price ng surgical mask during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic and during the period when the supply of surgical masks began to stabilize, ang atin is about 1.7 something. Alam mo, sa totoo lang, yung bili natin sa lahat would amount to something like, I'd like to ask Secretary si Vince. Vince, paki-explain nga. Kayo ang may alam nito. Kindly expound on this presyo, yung fluctuating, pati yung presyo at the beginning of the period of pandemic and the fluctuating prices, at ano yung bili noon ng previous administration.
Unang-una po, Mr. President, no? Nung pong time na yun, kami po ni Secretary Galvez, we were going around the hospitals because this was in the early part of the pandemic, February and March. And during this time, talaga pong walang PPEs ang ating mga ospital. At marami po sa ating mga doktor, ating mga nurse, na nagkakasakit. In fact, Sec Galvez can confirm this. I think in Metro Manila alone, there were, I think, about 37, close to 40 doctors who were actually in the ICU during this time. they were infected because obviously there were not enough PPEs at that time. So kami po talaga ni Sec. Chari, nagkukumahog talaga kami noon. Nagmamakaawa po kami sa mga both sa DOH and also even the private sector to help us really provide the much needed PPEs for our healthcare workers. And then the NTF spoke to everybody, to the entire government, based on your call po, Mr. President, na kailangan magtulong-tulong ang buong gobyerno. Hindi pwedeng kanya-kanya. Kailangan magtulong-tulong. And even OCD at that time, the Office of Civil Defense helped, and DBMPS also helped because they have the expertise in procurement. And at that time, the DOH really could not handle it anymore. Yun po ang totoo. Lahat po ng ginagawa ng DOH noon was really meant to control the pandemic on the ground. And so that was the reason why the other agencies of government like OCD and DBMPS got involved. And I think what was done was really to scan the market, Mr. President. And I think that was very diligent on the part of the procuring entities to look at the prevailing market prices. As you correctly pointed out, Mr. President, market prices are based on supply and demand. If there is more supply, it is cheaper. If there is more demand, it is obviously more expensive. And at that time, there was really tremendous demand, not only domestically, our hospitals were all looking for PPAs, but obviously we also had to compete with the demand from other countries. No, but both the DTI, if I'm not mistaken, and Secretary Mon Lopez can confirm this, did a market scan as well as the DBM did a market scan of the prices. And as pointed out by spokesperson Harry, today, those prices were actually higher than the prices that were eventually procured by the Department of Budget and Management. Your po, Secretary Galvez po can also talk about the situation of the hospitals na pati po yung mga ospital noon, dahil nga hirap na hirap silang maghanap, mataas din po ang presyo ng kanilang binibigay at that time.
You know, we would like to just inform again. I will repeat this to the public because it is very important. The Aquino government bought PPE is at 3,500 pesos. Way more expensive than the ones we bought at 1,019 tayo. That is our what we have ang ano ng fluctuations was in 2015 ang fluctuations was to 3,800 in 2016. Ngayon makita natin mas mataas ito yung nasa ano pala. Look at the price is 3,500. Yung atin is 1,900. So sabihin nila, yung 2014, wala pa mang pandemic noon. There was no pandemic yet. And yet, they bought PPE's equipment at 3,500 a piece. Tayo nung pandemic na at the start, we bought it at 1,900 lang. So, kung may mga fluctuations, umabot tayo ng ilang thousand konti, but ang kanila from 3,500 2015 to 3,800 in 2016. May fluctuation. I'd like to call on Secretary Galvez to expand on this.
Yes, sir. Sa panahon po talaga na yun na talagang nagkukumahog po tayo, Mr. President, dahil kasi po talagang binigay niyo pong instruction sa akin kasi talagang nakikita po natin sa news na marami ng mga magagaling na doktor sa heart center at saka sa ibang mga talagang mga magagaling po na mga level 3 hospitals ang namamatay na. And during those times, marami pa pong naka-intubate. And ang inano po niyo po sa akin na instruction sa akin bilang chief implementer, solve po ng problema yan within few days. Kaya po ang ginawa po namin talaga ay talagang nag-uusap po kami ng PSDBM at saka po ng OCD. Yung OCD po, concentrated po sila sa local manufacturing at yung ano po, yung PSDBM, siya po ang in charge sa big volume na ano po natin. Kung ano po yung fluctuation ay nagkakaroon po talaga ng fluctuation kasi yung cost of transportation sinasama po diyan. At doon din po namin nakita talaga po na lahat po ng sources, even yung mga nagdo-donate po ng mga ating mga private sector, sa China rin po kumukuha, Mr. President. Marami po nga kaming alam na mga ibang mga politicians na talagang mga hiniram pa yung C-130 natin, nakunin yung yung order nila doon sa China. So, ang nagkakaroon po ng fluctuation dahil nung unang panahon, sir, tayo ang kumukuha. Pero nung sila na po ang nagdi-deliver, yung cost po ng ng delivery, siyempre po mataas po 'yan. Parang yung vaccine din po, pagka po ang tayong kukuha dun sa manufacturer, medyo mababa po yung pero pagka once na sila na po ang magbibigay, mayroon pong cost na mga more or less mga $1 po 'yan. Mga $1 na mahigit or even po. Kasi ang ginagawa po ng ng ating nag-supply yung yung ating mga PPE po, Mr. President, inano po natin yon, bali ibinibigay po natin yon sa CIF dito po sa Manila, sa Port of Manila, sa Cebu, sa Cagayan de Oro, at saka po dito sa Davao. So doon po medyo tumaas po yung presyo because yung barko na kanilang arkilahin, babayaran po ng ng supplier. Ang maganda po din po doon ang ating Mr. President is that yung yung ating mga produkto na hinihingi, hindi po natin binabayaran yan hanggang hindi po na-inspect. So ibig sabihin po talaga yung supplier po natin, siya ang gagastos ng lahat. Wala po tayong gastos. Babayaran lang po natin pagka po na-deliver na po dito.
Ko, walang bayad until na-deliver, inspected and delivered. O yun yun ang atin. That is what we followed in these protocols of purchases made by government. Itong itong kung sinunod ba ng gobyerno yung mga patakaran ng rules of emergency procurement in this purchase. Harry?
Sir, opo. Well, sa 9184 po, meron po talagang provision na kapag emergency, po pwedeng hindi po susunod dun sa public bidding. Pero nagkaroon po tayo ng lex specialist na tinatawag na yung Bayanihan 1 na binigyan po ang presidente ng kapangyarihan na bumili ng wala pong bidding. Pero maski wala na pong bidding, ang ginawa mo ng PSDBM, kumuha po sila ng mga price quotes sa iba't ibang mga supplier. At doon po nila nakita na ang pinakamababa nga po ay 1,950 ang bid. At bagamat ang gusto initially ng supplier magkaroon ng 30% down, nag-insist po ang PSDBM dahil agawan nga po ng PPE sa mga panahon na yon na pinakamababa ng presyo ng 1,950 at babayaran lang yan kung nakarating na sa Pilipinas at pumasa sa testing. So, Mr. Mayor, meron po talagang 4 hanggang 5 quotes ang PSDBM bago po niya kinontrata yung nanalo po sa hindi po bidding ang tawag doon kung hindi yung sa mga price quotes na sinubmit na pinakamababa. So yung sinasabi po nila na marami raw depekto, na maliit lang daw po yung authorized capital stock at saka yung paid up at saka may criminal record ang mga stockholders. Well, unang-una po, ito po'y hindi dumaan sa 9184. So wala po talaga tayong two-envelope system na yung una, titignan muna natin kung merong grounds for disqualification sa bidder bago bubuksan yung financial bid itself. Wala pong ganun. Hindi nga po obliged ang PSDBM na kumuha ng mga price quotes. Pero para nga po makakuha tayo ng pinakamagandang terms and condition, kumuha pa po ng price quote. At yan nga po ang nadiskubre nila na ito ang pinakamababa. At wala pong danyos na maliit ang paid up kasi nga po hindi nabayaran kung hindi dumating. So kung talagang wala pong kakayahan yung kumpanyang yon, siya po nag-finance ng buong import. Hindi po yan dumaan na hindi po tayo nagbigay ng kahit anong down payment dyan. No? So ibig sabihin lang po niyan, baliwala yung maliit na paid up capital. Pero ulitin ko lang po, sinasabi ko po kasi ng isang senador na hindi raw nasunod yung RA 9184, talagang hindi po nasunod kasi pinasa naman po nila sa Kongreso mismo kasama ng Senado yung Bayanihan 1 na nagbibigay ng kapangyarihan na to do away with the bidding under 9184 and to resort to expedited purchases.
Thank you. Nauna ito pero isabihin ko na lang. Sabi ni Cardinal Sin nung buhay pa, if Satan appears to me and gives me money, I will accept the money and spend it all for the poor. It is not the practice of the church to ask donors where the donations come from. Our duty is to make sure that all donations go to the poor. The devil remains my enemy, but I will use his resources to feed the poor. Ganito yung sitwasyon natin na sabi ko nga sa una ko, get it, whether you use itong bidding or not. But I'm sure I said there is a law na huwag mo nang ibidding, bilihin mo na kaagad. Kasi ang experience ko sa gobyerno, yung bidding matagal, umiikot pa ng ilang opisina, pati departamento. So that is what happened here. So tanungin ko si Secretary Galvez, were the purchase mask bought and delivered on time?
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, napakabilis kasi unang-una nung tuwan-tuwa nga sir ang ating mga healthcare workers kasi yung ano po natin talaga maano po yung maraming na namamatay at saka na-infect na mga healthcare workers. At pumunta mismo ako sa mga ospital, tuwan-tuwa po sir sila. Ang ganda ng quality, magaan po sa katawan, hindi po sila pinapawisan kasi yung ibang po mga hazmat napakabigat at saka napakainit. So yung aming tuwan-tuwa po ako sa personally, nakita ko po yung yung katuwaan nila na yung confidence nila na talagang pumunta doon sa mga COVID patient, tumaas po ang kanilang confidence because what we bought doon po sa ating mga PPE ay nandoon po sa quality. At saka marami pong director na mga pumunta po sa akin, Mr. President. Sabi nila, sir, pwede bang sumama kami sa bidding nyo? Dahil kasi yung sa amin, umaabot po ng 2,000 at saka 3,000 yung aming pagbili ng PPE. Napakamura pala ng PPE nyo po. So yun po ang sinabi po sa amin ng mga direktor ng mga ospital na pinuntahan namin po dito sa Metro Manila. At ako po yung natuwa, Mr. President, dahil naibigay po natin kaagad at nasalba po natin ang buhay ng ating mga healthcare workers. Especially po yung mga specialist natin na karamihan po na mga namatay. Yun po ang nakita po natin na talagang nung panahon na nabigay po natin kaagad po yun, yung PPE, ay nasalba po natin karamihan po yung mga ating mga espesyalista po na magagaling na mga surgeon.
Secretary Galvez, the next question that they would be interested to ask, and ito naman yung kung inilang issue is, were the purchase mask made of good quality?
Sir, maganda pong
Yung
quality.
sinasabi mo na magaan sa ano.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, yung quality, nakita po namin, Yung ano po, yung sinasabi po ng ibang mga senador na 940 po ang PPE. Yung po ano lang po yun, parang tilang overall. Pero itong PPE po natin na binili po, Mr. President, ang goggles, ang ganda. Ako tuwan-tuwa po ako sa goggles kasi talagang yun ang nakafitting sa ano po eh. And aside from the goggles, meron po siyang face mask. And at the same time, yung kanyang yung quality niya, meron po siyang tinatawag na heat shield. Meaning yung tahi, may takip. Yung mga locally made, sir, na without sir, na sa iba naman sa yun ang nakita namin na difference. Kaya they prepared yung binibili po ng gobyerno dahil gusto nga nila na yun po napakaganda sa katawan, at the same time they feel very protected po.
So, would I be correct to say now that no public funds or payments were released until it was ascertained that the medical supplies were completely delivered and the same are compliant with the technical requirements as specified by the DOH or by other agencies that requested the purchase?
Sir, makatis po ako dyan, sir, dahil kasi kasama po dyan ang AUP, kasama rin po yung ibang mga logistics officer na nag-inspect po, sir.
Dito tayo sa kay Gordon. Marami siyang tanong at sasagutin natin. But I would like to say something. Gordon, are you really investigation in aid of legislation or in aid of your personal political interest? I heard that you want to run for vice president next year. And you are trying to impress the opposition that they would consider you. Totoo ba ito, Secretary Gordon? Alam mo, tatakbo rin ako. Kung mag-usap lang tayo, pwede namang ikaw ang maging vice president kung karapat-dapat ka. So, I would know if you talk to me about your political plans, lalo ng vice presidency, ako naman nag-announce na. Kung interesado ka, magipag-usap ka. At tingnan natin kung karapat-dapat ka ba. But ganito kasi ang problema ko kay Gordon eh. But having a senator at the helm, especially like you, even if the Supreme Court ruled that it is not against the Constitution if you hold the position of Red Cross, I think is unethical. And we have revealed why. Alam mo kasi, if Red Cross is also a government agency, tapos member ka ng Congress, tumatakbo ka rin at nanalo ka, and you're holding the Red Cross, you are the top honso there, and being a senator, and at the same time, medyo malabo ata yung ginagawa mo. So, pag nagkamali ako, Senator Gordon, if I am wrong, which is a possibility also of a wrong interpretation, paki-clear lang nitong of you holding two government agencies. One being a senator and the other being, I don't know what is your position in the, ikaw yung chairman sa Red Cross for a long time. You know, let me just also add something. As far as I can remember, even before I entered politics, Gordon, hinawakan mo na yung Red Cross and you control the agency like the way you control everything. You are so bossy And I think that the true work of the Red Cross is not reflected in your actuations. Uh, ito pang isa, Red Cross is to be a non-profit organization. But amid the onset of pandemic, Red Cross, under you, charge testing at astronomical rate for around 4,000 pesos, 4,700 pesos a piece without any discount for senior citizens or persons with disabilities. Is this not a clear violation of the expanded Senior Citizens Act? Pakisagot lang nito. Kasi it is a violation of law to deprive the senior citizens and persons with disabilities of lower prices in consideration of their present situation. And ito pang isa ang ayaw ko sa iyo. At the time when we were busy testing everybody at humingi kami ng tulong sa inyo, Red Cross. Red Cross is supposed to be a humanitarian organization. But when government was struggling to source funds, you threatened to stop testing. I'd like to ask the Filipino people na napansin ba nito ninyo noon? Nagalit siya at sabi niya kung hindi magbayad ang gobyerno, he threatened that he will stop the testing. Alam mo, I really do not know, but I cannot see the rationale of your statement na you threaten government with something which ought to be done by you, irrespective of whether or not may pera ba o wala. Because in this kind of situations or transactions with government, foremost is really the fact that everybody wants to help. And now you are even having plans of selling vaccines and said charging 3,500 pesos per shot is just fair. Moderna vaccines cost $51 or roughly about 2,500 pesos. What is the extra 1,000 for? And for whom? Yung Moderna na gagamitin mo is 2,500 pesos. Pero sabi mo, you will be charging 3,500. So there is an extra of 1,000. Anong gamitin mo nito in the light of the pandemic in situation in the Philippines? Is this a fair move of yours during the time of when the Philippines is suffering from, just like other nations, the effects of pandemic? Is the Red Cross saving money so that it would eventually pass a resolution to set aside a big amount to fund your elections plans, just like the funds you used in the 2010 and 2010 campaign? Alam mo, ginagamit mo itong Red Cross. And I dare say na ginamit mo talaga ito para sa elections. Ito yung milking cow mo sa totoo lang. You have been there for quite a time. Is it not fair to say now that bumitaw ka na and give others a chance? at para mahinto na yung ginagawa mong kalokohan. Remember the plunder complaint filed against you by fellow senator in 2017? You allegedly allocated 193 million pesos for bark barrel to Red Cross and used the same for your campaign. Ni ikaw mismo karami mong ginawa na sindikato, things that you should not do as a public official. Yung 193 million pesos na pork barrel na ginamit mo, hindi mo nga masabi sa amin kung saan nalagay yun, totoo ba o hindi. How about the disallowances and charges in the SBMC's books of accounts when you were sitting as chairman? Is this amount of 140 million pesos? Is this the reason why you lobbied for certain individuals to be appointed to the SBMA so that you can protect your own interest? And when you said, hindi ako pumirma doon dahil kako dapat ayusin yan. So wala akong problema dyan. When you're referring to the MOA between the PhilHealth and the Philippine Red Cross, then somebody from the Senate should cite you for contempt. You have a copy of the MOMA and it is there clearly. It bears your signature. You were lying to the truth before the public. Pakisagot lang nito. Sabi mo hindi ka pumirma. Ngayon pala it was signed by you. You know, it is good to be posturing as a clean and black. Alam mo, madali yan eh. Gusto mong magmuka kang puti. Pinturahan mo lahat yung tao, katabi mo itim. Ang talagang ikaw yung maputi sa lahat. Yan ang totoo dyan. Pakisagot lang nito. Because kailangan ito ng Pilipinas malaman. Nag-iimbestiga ka na wala namang batayan at yung kagaya nitong, I'd like to address myself to everybody, to the senators especially. Yung unang sabi ko na complaint that unspent yung money ng DOH na binigay sa kanila. The DOH is planning so many things to fight the COVID. At bakit mo naman pakialaman na ito may pera dito, bakit hindi pa ito nagastos? Why are you trying to run the Department of Health with your investigation? Kayo na ang gustong magpatakbo kasi nagtatanong na kayo kung bakit ito hindi pa nagastos. You know, it is the prerogative of the DOH to plan how to spend the money in pursuance to their public programs. Yan ang gusto ng malaman ko rin at pati yung mga tao. Why? Why do you want to run government or departments na gusto ninyo if there is an unspent na hindi pa nagastos na pera? May mga programa ang DOH. Ngayon nagtatanong kayo yung pera. Well, you know, eventually this money will be spent, gastusin ito para sa mga programa ng Department of Health. So do not, kayong mga lahat, do not investigate programs which are ongoing. You will derail it, you will delay it by your incessant penchant for investigating government offices. Gusto ninyo lahat pakialaman na lang. Alam mo, you do not run this government alone by questioning the unspent amount. Kung hindi naman po na-dispal ko, bakit ka nagtatanong? If the money is there, it is unspent, nobody is stealing it, it is there, and the department has so many programs. Hindi lang ang department, takot ako, baka hindi lang Department of Health ang pakialaman ninyo. Department, DILG, Department of Health, and the continuing, ninyo, pinapakialaman ninyo si Secretary Galvez. You're trying to muddle up everything by questioning every time how or why he spent the money. The guy is simply trying to even explain to you in every opportunity, whether it be is a program of government or whether it is really a forum of, sponsored by government such as this. This is part of a cabinet meeting. Hindi lang tinatawag yung ibang membro ng kabinete simply because it is not a thing that would concern them. Pero itong mga, when we talk about COVID, it has to be the DOH and Secretary Galvez. And if we you keep on hammering all of these things that they are doing, and the money that were spent and the money that were not, why don't you just wait until they have completed the project or until the project is terminated? Ganon sana ang gawin ninyo. Pakiusap lang o respeto. Well, kayo antiga, kayo yung palaging nag-iimbestiga. I hope that someday we will have also a time to question your actuations. And we will start with you. Hindi naman kayo lahat dyan malinis. Kasi, but you are the one making a noise that is just really a noise for no purpose at all but to create a noise. Then kindly answer the questions that we pose today. With that, we would magpapasalamat kami sa iyo kung masagot mo yan. But you know, I repeat, for the longest time, you are the one holding the reins of the Red Cross. Marami nang nagtatanong, and everybody would always be surprised because you have the ready answer and you are controlling even the money of the Red Cross. At ang pinakamabaho ang nakita ko sa iyo is when you threaten to stop testing. Anak ka ng ikaw, di mo maintindihan. Ulitin ko. Yung ginawa mo, you threaten government that you will stop. You stop testing people so that they will die just because you are not paid. And the money that you have accumulated all these years would run into billions. At ang gusto kong makita yung audit talaga ng totoo ng Red Cross. And maybe I will demand, the executive department will demand that we be furnished a copies of your audit taken by COA, and COA to give us the copy so that we can review also what you have audited at tingnan ba namin kung tama o hindi. Mas mabuti na yung ganon. Let us be open to everybody. You open your books and I open mine, and you can read all what is entered there, and I also examine what you have done so that it will be a fair scheme for everybody. Yan lang ang gusto ko tanongin. Kasi ito si Gordon nagmamalinis eh. Akala mo walang ginawang plenty. We will start also with your record as a public official. Plenty. Yang Red Cross na yan, I think that you would not be even be able to explain. Sa totoo lang. If there is an honest to goodness examination of the book of records and the audit of the past years, and we will review if it reflected really the real actuations of you and the others there in the Red Cross, I'm sure that we will find something. And we believe that you are also guilty of, sabihin mo ng malversation, tell us. We would be happy to know kung meron o wala. Salamat, Mr. Gordon. And again, I'd like to thank the public for participating in the discussion with us. You listen to this because, alam mo, sa totoo lang, kung may tinuturo sila na isa, ito si Gordon, magturo ng isang transaction, hindi naman niya sinasabi kung ilang transactions ang ginawa niya na mali. So, ganon. Sauce for the gander, sauce for the goose. That's it. Mga kababayan ko, maraming salamat.